So Trump was right all along. Court finds that CNN is fake news. Wow, wow, wow. I mean, we already knew this, of course, but I feel sorry for people that are looking for CNN for news and information because that just means that you're misinformed and you ill-informed on what's really going on because they are fake news. They spin the narrative. They are Democrat party talking heads is all they are. I mean, they don't have they refuse to be honest about it, and they try to act like that they're fair and balanced when they're everything but. So we're gonna talk about it, but before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button, share this out so we can get this information out there. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and hit that alarm bell so you know when I'm putting out new stuff. Also, check out my link tree in the description. It has a link to my Patreon. That's where I talk about things that I can't talk about here. There's also a link to my Instagram and my X account, so follow me there as well. All right, so let's get into this news. Now, this comes from PJ Media, and they report that the establishment media is finally being exposed for what it really is, the propaganda arm for the hard left. And it's a glorious thing to see. Two flagship media outlets, pillars of the so called journalistic establishment, have now lost defamation cases and must pony up millions as a result. This is extremely good news for those who value the truth and are tired of these moneyed, undeservedly respected propaganda outlets manipulating the American people. A month ago, ABC and its far left propagandist George Stephanopoulos reached a settlement with Donald Trump, who has sued them for defamation. The settlement involved the network forking over $15 million to Trump. It's also precluded Trump's suit from going to trial, which showed that ABC's top dogs understood how weak their case really was. They were happy to pony up $15 million to make this thing go away rather than have a trial reveal just how far from actual journalism they had allowed themselves to stray. Now, on Friday, it was CNN's turn. Fox News reported that, quote, a jury found that CNN committed defamation against U.S. Navy veteran Zachary Young and is responsible for punitive damages on Friday after more than 8 hours of deliberation. The jury ruled Young is awarded $4 million in lost earnings and $1 million in personal damages such as pain and suffering, and, and said that punitive damages are warranted against CNN. The $20 million and counting in judgments against establishment who were caught manipulating and spinning the news while loudly and repeatedly insisting that they were telling nothing but the straight truth. CNN's chest thumping proclamation that it is, quote, the most trusted name in news is laughable, has been a joke for years, but now it has been confirmed in court that anyone who trusts CNN probably also thinks that old Joe Biden has been capable, competent, um, a capable, competent president, and that Hamas is a valiant army of freedom fighters engaging in resistance against an occupier. I could speak to that, but I'm gonna leave that one alone. I'm gonna let PJ Media have that one because I can go on this tangent. Not saying that Hamas is great. They're terrorists. They are a terrorist organization, but so is Israel, I believe. But that's a whole nother story. The rulings against ABC and CNN are sweet victory for those who have been insisting for years that the media was biased, only for far left fact checkers and those same media outlets to dismiss any concern about their agenda, perspective, or accuracy as right wing conspiracy theorizing. You know, every time something goes against their narrative, every time something goes against the leftist narrative, they call it a right wing conspiracy. But we all seen the posts, we all seen the memes where people got the mainstream media on one side and right wing conspiracy theorists on the other side, and this checklist for conspiracy theorists. Right again, right again, right again, right again. We all seen that meme. But after all, the news media has been a leftist mouthpiece for decades, but only since Donald Trump became a presidential candidate and then president of the United States did that become too obvious to deny. As far back as 1962, when Richard Nixon lost his race for governor of California, he excoriated the press for its leftist bias and famously declared, quote, "You won't have Nixon to kick around anymore because, gentlemen, this is my last press conference." 9 years later, journalist Edith Ephron published a book, The News Twisters, demonstrating that there had been serious media bias in media coverage of the 1968 presidential election between Nixon and Hubert Humphrey and George Wallace. In 1978, ABC News reported that the Ford Pinto could explode if it was hit from behind. There was a nationwide outcry. Only later did it come to light that the Pintos were exploding because an incendiary device had been planted on them, right? In 1992, NBC News presented a rigged crash test, leading Don Hewitt, the executive producer of CBS 60 Minutes, to claim that everything was on the up and up over at his shop. Referring to NBC's fake crash report, he said, "If that had happened at 60 Minutes, I'd be looking for a new job tomorrow. I can't for the life of me figure out why anybody would do that. It's not something anybody at 60 Minutes would do." And y'all should look it up if y'all don't know what I'm talking about. But back during the Iraq War, the first one under Daddy Bush, they had like, it was props put up and stuff like that, and it was fake palm trees and stuff like that, and they were like, "Oh God, incoming!" They were acting like they were being bombed and stuff. Like, this was early CNN, so from the very beginning, CNN been fake news. But another low light for the media came in 2004. Dan Rather, the anchor of CBS Evening News and a respected journalist, in quotes, with the lengthy resume, ran with the story about 1973 memos that apparently showed that President George W. Bush, who was running for re-election, had shirked his duties as a member of the Texas Air National Guard. I remember that story. And that his commanding officer had been pressured to give him a better evaluation than he deserved. Rather insisted they were authentic, but it quickly came to light that the memos had been typed on a modern day computer, not an early 1970s era typewriter. CBS and Rather finally admitted that the documents in question, which of course could have given the election to Democrat candidate John Kerry, could not be authenticated. Faced with clear evidence that Rather was so avid to bring Bush down that he didn't take basic and necessary precautions to ensure that the memos were authentic, CBS declined to renew Rather's contract. For Rather, the anti-Bush memos had been too good to check. You gotta check and verify these things. I check and verify most of the stuff that I'm looking into. I just don't go off of one source. I go and try to verify these sources. And then if I can't verify it, I make that statement. I might say something like, "I believe this to be true, but I don't, I can't verify it." So I always stipulate those things, but the mainstream media really never does. But all that was child's play compared to what goes on now. You want negative stories about Donald Trump? Just go to the New York Times or the Washington Post or CNN or MSNBC or any of the rest. The major establishment media outlets don't even pretend to strive for objective reporting anymore, while they benefit from the indifferent and uninformed segment of the public's assumption that they're still engaged in it. I don't understand that. It makes no sense. But the defamation rulings against ABC and CNN, however, are a sign of hope. The establishment media's propaganda empire has already started crumbling in the wake of the challenge from X, which Elon Musk says is the media now. These cases should hasten that empire's fall. You want the truth as opposed to the media spin. Oh, this is just that's just an ad for for PJ Media. But it's wild seeing this happening. I never thought that mainstream media would take a nosedive like this. That they would end up being having to come out paying money for their lies and their propaganda. But about darn time. But y'all, let me know what y'all think about this. Leave your comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe, and check out jjthepsychotherapist.com for the latest in news. Until next time, peace.